Okay, so quick recap. This is the 4L60 that we tore down out of the 2010 Silverado 1500. This is the one he just had rebuilt way less than a year ago, and it's had nothing but problems. And they charged him quite a bit, so I definitely do not see his money's worth in any of these parts. As you can see, most of the hard parts are up here on the table, and most of these hard parts have issues and are hopefully we can fix them. Some are definitely going to need to be replaced. Hopefully we can save others. First off, all the accumulators need to be replaced. The two metal ones, they still have the plastic one inside the valve body, which I'm really surprised about. But that'll get changed to metal. Two new metal ones for the other two, and new pins, because there is excessive wear on the pins and inside of the accumulator piston bores. Moving on, vacuum tested the valve body. There are leaks, but it is just due to warping of the valve body. All of the valve bores seem to be intact and in good condition, so there's some good news there. Just have to flat sand the valve body, flat sand the case where the valve body meets, and we'll cure those problems. Now, it will get a full overhaul kit or master rebuild kit. New clutches, new steels. We're going to do the Raybestos Z-Pack for the 3.4. Cork pan gasket. It's really important for everyone out there. New molded pistons, which is another issue. I had to put different molded pistons in this drum just to air check everything, because the pistons that were in here had some massive blow by and would barely hold pressure. So a lot of the Torrington bearings need to be replaced. They're pretty much hammered, but that's not too expensive. So moving on, the reverse input drum needs to be replaced. As you can see, they tried to cross hatch it to sand down a lot of these ridges and valleys. It did not work, and it just made things worse. This drum is completely toast. The input reaction hub needs to be replaced. So the one good Torrington bearing is actually this one. Now, you can see along the shaft where all that bushing wear has cut grooves into the shaft itself. Now, along with the teeth, you can see how much has pressed into those teeth, and they're barely hanging on by a thread, just about stripped out. Bushings. These ones were replaced, but they are in very bad condition. The interior bushing is in even worse condition. They're supposed to be brass. These are just about polished to chrome. You can see the oil valley cut in the bushing right there. There's supposed to be one on the other side. And hey, look at that. It's gone. You can see the tip of it right there. That's how much this is worn down. The bushings were replaced on the reverse input drum, but same story. Look at how bad that bushing is, and that bushing. They're completely wiped out. Let's see if we can get to focus. There we go. Now, since those bushings provide support for the stator, it went ahead and wiped the stator out. You can see all those deep cut grooves in the stator. So, at minimum, we're going to need to press in a new stator. But there's also some deep grooves cut into the stator back half of the pump and the pump body itself. While we're on the pump body, looks like all the internals of the pump were the stock from the GM production yard. They even reused the original pivot pin. So, looks good right there, right? Then you turn it and you see how badly everything is. So, alright, sorry, just had to pause you guys. Deal with someone walking up. Where'd we leave off? Okay, the bushings in the stator were never replaced. These are the original bushings from GM, and they're in pretty bad condition. Since we're already focused on the zoom, You can see how badly that reverse input drum cut into that stator. So now, Sunshell. Miraculously, this has survived. This is the original one from when this unit was first built. I don't know why this shop chose to reuse this Sunshell, but they did. So we're going to go ahead and replace that with the Sonnax Smart Shell, because that's also going to give us a new interrace for our low roller in the rear center support. Because this thing, if we can get it to focus, is also wiped out. You can see the chatter marks. There's some pretty deep grooves cut into it. So at least we'll be able to fix two things with one purchase. This bushing was replaced, but as you can see, it's the small, tiny, thin little crappy bushing. The bushings we put in, especially for this Sun gear, is twice as wide. Provides a lot better support. They did replace the bushing in the pump, which I was surprised. That's the PTFE or Teflon coated bushing, but it's pretty much wiped out. Let's see. Back to the input drum. Once I got the different pistons in, I was able to hold pressure and air check. That's what you see this fluid down here for. If you remove the Torrington bearing and your selective washer that's below that, you can fill this up with fluid. Some use soapy water, some don't. I just squirt a little transmission fluid in there. And then you air check each of your pistons and you look for air coming up in between the input shaft and the drum. And there is definitely air coming out on all three applies. So we're going to push this shaft out of the drum, clean up both surfaces, re-Loctite it, repress this in. Hopefully that clears up that issue. If not, we're going to have to get a new input drum. The input sprag assembly. Now GM eventually updated this sprag. If you can remember from GM, it was a single cage sprag. They went to a dual cage. But as you can tell, it is a plastic outer cage. I don't know why they reused it, but they did. This will get replaced with the dual metal cage BorgWarner sprag. You can see the pitting on the outside of the sprag teeth there. Also, you can see where it grooved up pretty good. And then on the surfaces itself where the sprag runs, it started cutting a nice groove in there. Normally you'll see some staining, but this has an actual groove. And same with the internal surface area. So we'll see if we can Scotch-Brite that up and resurface that. Hopefully we can, and then that'll save us from having to purchase that. Both capture bearings in the planetaries are pretty beat up by some heat and a lot of load. Other than that, the planetaries themselves are good. Hopefully we can save these capture bearings. If not, we're going to have to buy 2 new planetaries. That was due to how bad the end play was in this unit. It had over a ½ inch of end play on the output shaft. And it wiped out a lot of hard parts. It's really sad to see how poorly this was done for the money that was spent. And this is at a pretty reputable, or I don't know if I want to say reputable, but a fairly busy shop. Granted, it's one of the only shops in the area, because this was up in the desert where he had this done, but it's sad to see that these are easy units to build, and to get it messed up that bad, you really almost have to try to do that. The clutches for the reverse input drum are actually in good shape. Your low and reverse clutches in the case, those were in decent shape. Let's see if we can get around you. These were the clutches that came out of the input drum. Now, the 3-4 clutches are black. Forwards are a little bit stained, and then the engine braking clutch is in pretty good shape. But all of that's getting replaced anyway. So, yeah, now you see the damage and what needs to be replaced. And it's just a bummer that this happens. Just make sure you guys pay attention to where you're going. Try to do as much research as you can on whatever shop you pick. because even big name shops can do work like this. I've seen it. So, and with big name shops that do a lot of production, if they get a few bad units, they really don't care. Because, you know, if you look at it numbers wise, you have a lot of good units with a few comebacks, they're not worried about it. But especially in these times with the whole pandemic and everything, if you have a transmission that goes out and you have to spend your savings to get it redone to get your vehicle back on the road, and then you end up with something like this, this can hurt someone or a family really badly, and that's what's sad. So this unit's going to get redone by me personally. We'll do all of the upgrades that we do to most of these units that go in the trucks. We're going to do some upgraded parts that I have in stock, and going to cut him a deal on this one as much as I can. So, but yeah, wanted to show you guys this, and then the video itself is also so he can take that to the shop and show them the whole teardown video and this secondary video showing what needs to be replaced, and then hopefully he can get that shop to pay the repair bill, because that's what needs to happen. I'm thinking about taking a trip down to the shop myself, talking to the owner. Maybe he hired a new guy and he said he knew what he was doing but didn't. I mean, there are definitely a couple of possibilities here. So try to give this shop the benefit of the doubt, see what they have to say. But from what I've heard, this definitely isn't the only complaint recently out of this shop. So other than that, hope everyone's having a good time, and we'll do the build video after we get all the hard parts we need. See if we can salvage the other stuff. If not, we'll have to get that. Once we have everything, we'll set up and do the build video. So see you guys on the next one.